Have you ever, like, I don't know, thought about if there's another you out there
Oh, yeah.
living a totally different life, maybe in some, like,
Yeah,
parallel universe, making different choices, taking a different path?
totally.
Well, get ready because today we're going deep, like head first, into this whole mind-bending concept of the multiverse. We're
Awesome.
going to explore the science behind it, the philosophy, and even what it could mean for you.
Yeah.
Like, if these other realities are actually out there.
It's a concept that has, captivated people for centuries.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But what's really amazing is that the idea of the multiverse is kind of like jumped out of the realm of just like philosophy and mythology and gone straight into, like actual cutting edge scientific theories.
It's not just science fiction anymore, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So before we get too lost in the what ifs, let's
Yeah.
start with the basics. I mean, what exactly are we talking about when we say multiverse?
Well, at its core, the multiverse is the idea that our universe, the one we experience every day, is just one of many. And maybe like an infinite number of other universes that all exist at the same time.
Okay, so like imagine a cosmic bubble bath
Yeah.
with each bubble being a separate universe.
Yeah.
But then what's going on inside those bubbles? I mean, are they all like ours?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay, cool.
Each of those like bubble universes you were talking about,
Yeah.
they could have their own totally unique set of physical laws, constants, and even like their own unique history.
Really?
Yeah, like imagine a universe where gravity works differently
Wow.
or where, I don't know, time flows backward or something.
That's wild. Okay, so where did this whole idea even come from?
That's a good question.
It's not just like, a bunch of physicists with really active imaginations, right?
No, not at all. The idea of the multiverse is actually rooted in some of the most, groundbreaking theories in modern physics.
Oh, okay.
Things like, string theory, quantum mechanics, and cosmic inflation.
Okay, let's break those down one by one, like for people who might not be as familiar.
Sounds good.
Let's start with quantum mechanics. I gotta admit, it always makes my head spin a little.
Oh, yeah. It can be pretty confusing.
How does it connect to the multiverse?
Well, instead of, diving straight into all the jargon and stuff, think of it this way. Quantum mechanics is all about probability and the unpredictable nature of these tiny, tiny particles that make up everything around us.
Okay, I'm following you.
Like, imagine you're flipping a coin.
Huh?
Before it lands, it has the potential to be heads or tails, right?
Yeah, it's in this weird in-between state.
Exactly. That's kind of like what happens with particles in the quantum world. They exist in this fuzzy state of like all possibilities until we actually measure them. It's like they're both heads and tails at the same time.
Okay, I kind of get that. But then how did that lead to multiple universes?
Okay, so according to it's called the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
Every time one of those possibilities is realized, like, in our universe, another universe branches off where the other possibility actually happens.
So it's like every quantum event like creates a fork in the road and splits reality into multiple paths.
Exactly. To put it another way, think of Schrodinger's cat. You know that famous thought experiment.
I've heard of it, yeah.
So you have a cat in a box, and there's this device that has, like, a 50-50 chance of releasing this deadly poison.
Uh-huh.
Until we open the box, the cat is, like, both alive and dead,
Oh, wow.
existing in that fuzzy state of possibility we were talking about.
So the act of opening the box kind of determines the cat's fate.
Well, according to the many worlds interpretation, it's not quite that simple.
Right.
Instead of determining the cat's fate, opening the box actually, like, splits reality.
Oh, yeah.
In one universe, you open the box and you find the cat alive, purring and happy. But in another universe, you open the box and, well,
It didn't go so well for the cat.
yeah, let's just say it's not a good outcome.
Oh, man. So there's a whole universe out there where, like, my cat is happily napping right now, even if something happened to it here.
That's the idea.
That's crazy.
It's a mind-blowing concept for sure.
Okay, so that's quantum mechanics. What about this cosmic inflation thing? That sounds pretty epic.
It is. So cosmic inflation basically dives into the very birth of our universe. The theory suggests that in the first fraction of a second after the Big Bang, the universe expanded unbelievably fast, like much faster than the speed of light.
Wait, hold on. Faster than the speed of light? Isn't that, like, impossible?
It is, according to what we know about physics right now.
Right.
But during this initial phase of inflation, the rules were different. Now imagine that this crazy fast expansion wasn't perfectly uniform.
So some parts of the universe expanded faster than others.
Exactly. And those regions that inflated more rapidly could have like pinched off
Oh, wow.
and become these separate bubble universes, each with its own, unique properties.
Hmm. So our universe, with its particular, I don't know, like set of physical laws and constants and stuff, is just one bubble in this vast cosmic foam.
You got it. That's the essence of cosmic inflation. And what's even more intriguing is that these other bubble universes, they
Mm.
might have completely different laws of physics, different fundamental forces, maybe even different dimensions.
Okay, now I'm starting to see why people are so fascinated by this multiverse idea. It's like the ultimate what-if generator.
It truly is. The more we dig into these theories, the more we realize that the universe, or I guess, the multiverse, might be way stranger and more awesome than we ever imagined.
And we haven't even talked about string theory yet. Isn't that one of the most like complex and abstract theories in physics?
Oh yeah, for sure. String theory is basically an attempt to unify all the fundamental forces of nature. It proposes that the basic building blocks of the universe aren't like point-like particles, but these tiny vibrating strings. And here's where it gets really wild for the multiverse. String theory needs it requires the existence of extra dimensions, ones that are like curled up and hidden from us.
Wait, extra dimensions? You mean like more than the three dimensions of space and one of time that we actually experience?
Exactly. String theory says there could be like at least 10 or 11 dimensions in total, and I get that these extra dimensions can be configured in almost an infinite number of ways, with each configuration creating a different universe with different physical laws.
So string theory is saying that the multiverse is basically built into the very fabric of reality.
It's a pretty strong argument. Of course, these are all still theoretical frameworks. We don't have definite proof of the multiverse, at least not yet. But the fact that all these theories, which try to explain the most fundamental stuff about our universe, all seem to point towards the possibility of other universes is pretty mind-blowing.
Okay, I'm officially on board with this multiverse exploration. But before we get, too carried away with all these mind-boggling concepts, I don't want to bring it back down to earth for a sec.
Okay, yeah.
What does all this mean for us right here in this reality? If there really are like infinite versions of ourselves out there making different choices and living different lives, how does that change how we see ourselves and our place in the universe? I guess that's what I'm really curious about.
That's a great question, and it takes us from the world of just, physics into the realm of like philosophy and even existentialism.
Hmm.
If the multiverse is real, it raises some deep questions about identity, free will, and, what our lives actually mean.
So should we dive into that rabbit hole then?
Let's do it. So we've gone through some pretty, I don't know, wild scientific theories that suggest the multiverse might be like more than just something we made up.
Yeah, for sure.
But now let's switch gears a bit and think about like what living in a multiverse would actually mean for us, like personally.
This is where things get really interesting for me. Okay, so let's just say, for argument's sake, that the multiverse is real. There are like infinite versions of me out there making different choices, living completely different lives.
It's a pretty fascinating thought, right? If there really are infinite yous out there, it kind of makes you wonder,
It does.
what does that mean for, the you in this reality?
Right. Like, what's the point of even trying, of making choices, if there's another me out there who's already, like, achieved everything I've ever dreamed of or, failed at everything I've ever tried?
You've hit on one of the most, I think, profound and maybe even a little unsettling implications of the multiverse.
Yeah.
This question of whether our choices actually matter when there are infinite possibilities.
It's a big one, for sure.
It's something that has like both philosophers and e-physicists kind of grappling with these ideas of free will and determinism and like the nature of existence itself.
I can see how someone could easily fall into this kind of like cosmic nihilism.
Yeah.
Like thinking, well, if everything that could happen, I enter shit happening somewhere, does anything I do even make a difference?
It's a completely normal reaction, yeah. It can definitely feel like our actions are, kind of tiny compared to all those infinite possibilities.
But then there's this other part of me that finds this whole multiverse idea incredibly, I don't know, like freeing.
I get that. It can be liberating to think that we're not just stuck on one predetermined path.
Exactly. Like instead of always feeling the pressure to make the right choice, I can just accept the fact that every path, every decision just leads to a different version of me, the different story.
Think of it like this. If every single choice you make creates a new, like, branch of reality, then our lives are kind of like a tapestry woven from all these countless threads, each one totally unique and valuable.
It takes the pressure off. Instead of feeling like I have to live this perfect life,
Yeah.
I can just appreciate, the messy, unpredictable, totally unique journey that's mine.
Exactly. In a multiverse of infinite possibilities, we're all literally one of a kind.
Okay, now that's a thought that makes me smile. A whole multiverse of me's out there rooting for each other. But let's get real for a second.
I'm already feeling a little, I don't know, regretful thinking about all those paths not taken, those what ifs, the choices I maybe should have made differently.
It's a very common feeling, actually.
Yeah.
The multiverse can definitely stir up all kinds of emotions. Wonder, excitement, but also fear, regret, even a sense of longing for those, other lives we could have lived.
Yeah, it's like I'm looking into some cosmic mirror and seeing like infinite reflections of myself, each one a little bit different. It makes you think, what would those other versions think of the choices I've made? Would they be proud? Or like disappointed? Would they want to switch places with me?
It's a really powerful thought experiment, for sure. And I think it reminds us that even though the multiverse gives us this amazing landscape of, possibilities, we need to remember that all those other versions are just that versions. They aren't you. You are everything you've experienced, your choices, your successes, and your failures in this reality. That's a good point. It's easy to get so caught up in all the what ifs that you forget to appreciate the journey that brought you to where you are now.
Exactly. If the multiverse exists, it shouldn't stop us from making decisions or make us feel regretful. It should actually make us want to live more fully, more intentionally, knowing that each choice adds to the uniqueness of our lives.
Okay, I'm feeling a little more, I don't know, purposeful now. But I got to ask, is there any, practical use for all this multiverse stuff? Or is it all just, fascinating mental gymnastics?
That's a question a lot of people are asking scientists and philosophers. Some believe that really understanding the multiverse could lead to some big breakthroughs in fields like, quantum computing, maybe energy production, even medicine.
Wait, really? How can we use the power of the multiverse, practically?
It's still pretty speculative at this
Right.
point.
Okay.
Just imagine being able to tap into the computing power of parallel universes to solve really complex equations or to simulate, complicated biological processes.
Whoa, so we could be running simulations of other realities on these superpowered quantum computers. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It does, doesn't it? And who knows, maybe those simulations could help us solve some of humanity's biggest problems.
Hmm.
And then there's all the research going on into dark matter and dark energy.
Yeah.
Some physicists think that those mysterious things, which make up most of the universe's mass and energy, could actually be evidence of other universes interacting with our own.
So looking for dark matter and dark energy could be like a back door into understanding the multiverse. Now, that's a really cool thought.
It is. And, we can't forget about AI, artificial intelligence. AI could be super helpful in analyzing huge amounts of data about the cosmos, maybe even finding little patterns or weird things that hint at other universes.
So we've got AI searching through space, quantum computers crunching data from parallel realities. It feels like the future of multiverse exploration is just as big and unknown as the multiverse itself.
Exactly. We're only just starting to figure out what might be possible.
All this talk about other versions of ourselves, other realities, it's definitely making me see my own life differently.
It's a powerful way to look at our existence, that's for sure.
If I could meet one of my, alternate selves, I'd want to know, are they happy? Did they make choices that led to a good life? And would they have any advice for me?
Those are some deep questions. And maybe just thinking about those other selves can help us figure out what we value, what we want, and what really matters to us in this reality.
It's almost like looking at a map of all the roads I could have taken.
Yeah, I like that.
Some might be smoother, some might have better views. But at the end of the day, it's the journey on this road, the one I'm on, that makes me who I am.
I love that. That's a beautiful way to put it. And I think it's the perfect way to move into talking about some of the cultural and historical aspects of the multiverse.
Oh, you mean how this idea has been around in stories and myths way before we had all these fancy scientific theories to explain it?
Exactly. People have been fascinated by the idea of parallel worlds and other realities and different versions of themselves for centuries, long before quantum mechanics or string theory.
Okay, I'm ready for a history lesson. What are some examples of how ancient cultures thought about multiple realities? Let's dive in.
All right, so we've looked at all this crazy science of the multiverse and
Mm.
thought about like what it would mean for us if it were real, and we even talked about, all those existential anxieties and what ifs.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. But are we done yet?
Not quite. I think there's one more really interesting thing about this whole multiverse thing that we need to talk about.
Okay, I'm listening. What are we missing?
Well, we've talked about how, modern science seems to support the idea of a multiverse,
Right.
but it's not like physicists just, came up with this idea out of nowhere. The idea of multiple realities and parallel worlds and all those alternate selves has been around for, like, forever. I mean, long before we had any scientific theories to explain them. You mean like how it pops up in stories and myths from way back?
Exactly. Like way before quantum mechanics or string theory, people were already fascinated by the idea of parallel worlds and other realities?
Yeah, okay. I'm ready for that history lesson now.
Yeah.
What are some examples of how ancient cultures thought about all this multiple realities stuff?
Well, one really interesting example is from Hindu cosmology. It's this concept of Maya.
Maya. Isn't that like the illusion of reality?
Yeah, that's it. In Hindu philosophy, Maya is like a veil that hides true reality from us. It suggests that the world we see and experience with our senses isn't actually the real deal, but just like some kind of projection or a dream or something.
So it's like there's this deeper, more real reality underneath what we normally see.
Exactly. And some people who study Maya think that there are actually many different levels of reality, each one more, I don't know, subtle and bigger than the last one. It's kind of like peeling back the layers of an onion? You keep finding more and more as you go.
Okay, yeah, I can see how that connects to the whole multiverse idea.
And then there's Norse mythology, you know, with their 9 realms like Asgard and Midgard and all that. Each realm is like its own separate world with its own special people and stuff.
Yeah, right.
And these realms, even though they're connected, they represent totally different levels of existence.
So the Norse myths were already exploring the idea of multiple realities, even though they didn't use, scientific terms for it.
Exactly. And those are just a couple of examples. Indigenous cultures all around the world have these really rich stories about dream worlds, spirit realms, different dimensions.
Interesting.
And these stories have been passed down for generations, and they show this deep understanding that everything's connected and that there might be way more to reality than what we can just see and touch.
It's like this fascination with multiple realities is, I don't know, like built into how humans tell stories.
Yeah, it's a universal human thing. We want to explore the what ifs to imagine what's beyond our everyday lives.
Hmm.
And that idea is still super alive today, showing up in art, literature, and especially in pop culture.
Oh, for sure. The multiverse is like everywhere in movies and TV shows these days. I mean, you've got everything everywhere all at once, and Marvel's Multiverse Saga, and even shows like Rick and Morty and Dark. Everybody's talking about the multiverse.
It shows how much this idea resonates with us. These stories let us, explore all the crazy possibilities of the multiverse in a fun and entertaining way.
Exactly. They let us dip our toes into those alternate realities and meet other versions of ourselves and like think about those big questions about choice and destiny and what it all means. And we don't even have to jump into a black hole or build a time machine or anything.
And let's face it, some of those multiverse scenarios in movies and TV are just plain wild and fun?
Totally. Like, who doesn't love a good multiverse battle with, like, a million different versions of superheroes? Or a crazy adventure through a bunch of bizarre alternate dimensions? It's pure escapism, but it also makes you think, even if it's just for fun.
Yeah. But I think there's also a deeper message in a lot of these pop culture stories, too. Take Everything Everywhere All at Once, for instance. It's this hilarious, action-packed adventure, but at its core, it's really about family and regret and, like, learning to accept the choices you've made in life.
That's so true. That movie really got to me. It makes you think about all the different paths you could have taken
Yeah.
and how those choices would have changed you. But in the end, it's about being happy with the life you have, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And it reminds us that even in a multiverse with infinite possibilities, our own individual story is still important and meaningful.
So maybe the real takeaway from all these multiverse stories, from ancient myths to modern movies, is that the most amazing adventures might be happening right here, right now, in our own reality, if we just, open our minds to the possibilities.
I love that. I think that's a perfect way to end our deep dive into the multiverse.
Me too. We've explored the science, the philosophy, the old myths, and even the crazy worlds of pop culture. It's been a wild ride, but I hope our listeners are leaving with a renewed sense of wonder about the universe, or I guess I should say the multiverse. and their place in it.
I'm sure they are. It's been awesome exploring all this mind-blowing stuff with you and our listeners.
And hey, even if we never actually prove that the multiverse is real, just thinking about it can inspire us to live more fully, appreciate the possibilities within ourselves, and be open to the unknown with a sense of curiosity and adventure.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And on that note, we'll leave you with the infinite to ponder. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.